Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Epic 7. And do you ever just record a 27-minute video going over balance patches and stuff and just not turn your mic on? You know, I do. So we've already seen this already. This is take 2 for me. Also, my glasses are fogging up. I'm sorry about that. So let's just jump into this. And the first thing that's changing here is Ambitious Tywin. Now, it's going to be when an ally is debuffed after the caster is attacked. This is a pretty massive buff to him because it means he doesn't need to get debuffed, which is a pretty great change. The most important thing with his skill set, I think, is he's going to be stunning for 1 turn and decreasing speed for 2 turns. That is a pretty fantastic change. And instead, he's not doing unhealable. And unhealable is one of those lackluster debuffs I feel recently because so many people can just get rid of it. But this is a pretty great change, and I really like this change, and I'm not sure how much of a difference this is going to have on Tywin, but it should be obviously beneficial, and I hope we get to see more of him because of this. I don't think this is as big of a buff as people want, so I'm guessing people are not going to be super happy with this, but it is what it is, and I think it'll be neat to test out. We did have a couple brave souls try out Ambitious Tywin in the level up cup, and it horribly didn't work. It worked once, but I feel like that was everybody else on the team, not Tywin, and it didn't work at all on the other time. Next up is Charlotte, and I think they missed the mark on Charlotte again here. They obviously buffed her. They made it so it always crits on her dual swords now, so it aligns up with her skill 3, always critting, so you don't need to build crit rate at all on her now. And it also made her chance to make them unhealable 100% too, which is kind of cool, but this isn't going to make anybody build Charlotte. I don't think this is a big enough buff, and I think that's a big problem with Charlotte. I think she needs a pretty big boost because she was nowhere near being good with this. Honestly, you could revert Charlotte's changes and just like buff her percentages by a little bit, and people would be happier than this. So, I really hope somebody finds a use for her. We saw her used once in the level up cup and she did not move. She just instantly died. So kind of interested to see what people do with her. And this is actually going to be a theme of this video, and I hate that it's a theme of this video, and I'm very sorry for always bringing it up. But I would love to use Charlotte like this. I really would. I'd love to have a blast with her in RTA. I'd love to pull her out in Guild Wars. I'd like to try her out in Raid. I'd maybe like to try her out in Golem just for fun, you know? Like, I would really like to use Charlotte, but I literally can't. I don't have the Mulagora for her, and she's already nowhere near good enough. So without the Mulagora, she's, like, super nowhere near good enough. So all I'm going to be doing, bringing her in, is just, like, losing the battle intentionally, which feels really horrible. So I really hate to bring up Molagoras so much. Such an impact on characters, especially like Charlotte, that aren't worth investing your resources into, that I have to bring it up because it's such an impact on a character like this that she gets literal near zero use instead of like quite a bit of use for fun. But you can't even use her for fun, you know? Like, it's okay if characters are like this and not fantastic. It's okay that not everybody isn't the best unit in the game, but it's not okay when you can't use those units, and that's where the big problem lies. So anyways, I'm going to bring up Molagoras a couple times during this. I super apologize for that, but it's just what I have to say because it makes such a difference on a unit now, right? Like, it's such an impactful change and an impactful decision on whether or not a unit can be built. So we have Destina as well here. And what they're doing to Destina is a decent change. It makes it so she's getting a 50% combat readiness increase instead of 30%. And this is taking her EE change to her skill 2 here. And now it's making it so her EE has a 30% chance to reset the school cooldown of her skill 2 when she uses it. This is a pretty great change. Like, obviously just adding this to her base kit is fantastic. But is it enough? You know, like, this definitely helps where she has problems. Like, if you're not using her Dispel on skill 1, or you're not using her -1 cooldown on your skill 3, if you're using her skill 2, you're going to be having a huge problem with debuffs. So maybe this lets you kind of lap your cooldowns a bunch and proc it a bunch of times. Like, imagine using this on yourself, getting the 30% proc, using it again, getting the 30% proc. and then using your skill 3 and everybody's fine. You know, that's an outcome that could happen, and I do like this change, but I think this is going to make her slightly better where she was used already, which is a decent amount of places, and not be enough to make her used anywhere she wasn't, and I think that's pretty important. And the same thing is going to be said about Lilibet as well. Lilibet is getting her increased chance to hit on her Soul Cutter ability just straight into Soul Cutter. So that has it just default in her ability now, and instead it's going to be 10% damage dealt on it to help you get those kills. Again, I will say the same thing to Destina. This is a great change. Obviously, this does make her better, but this isn't really going to make her used where she wasn't already used. So this isn't really adding or changing anything to the meta. Next up is Tempus Sirin, and this is the one I'm most unsure about. So I don't have Tempus Sirin, but I've heard very bad things about her, mainly to do with her just being so fragile, no damage, no anything, right? And what they're doing with her is making it so she's more accessible to use, so this does help for people that aren't using Molagoras on her. It makes it so she doesn't need as many Molagoras. She needs as many as she did before, but you're better with 0 than you were before. You have 5% increase to that, which is helpful, but for her to be used, you're probably going to need more than that anyway. But most importantly here, she dispels all debuffs from the caster and grants stealth for 1 turn after she goes under 70% HP, which is pretty massive. So what this means is you don't need to build her on immunity. You can build her on crit set or hit set or any other secondary set like that. It also means she will stealth herself, get rid of everything, and protect herself, so she won't really take that extra 49% damage in another hit unless she gets AoE'd right after, which is a possibility, but probably unlikely to happen. She'll probably survive and take another turn after this. So this is both a great thing and I'm not sure how much it'll help thing, but she also has Inflict Silence now on her skill 3. I think this is her skill 3. Which inflicts silence on all enemies for 1 turn, and it also lowers the cooldown on her skill 3 as well, down to 1, or down 1 more. So from what I've heard about Tempus Sirin, and again, this is just secondary information, I don't know how true this is because I haven't tested it myself, but she's a very greedy unit. She needs a lot of damage to actually do any damage, so she's going to need a ton of attack, ton of crit rate, ton of crit damage. She also needs a ton of speed to be even semi-effective, because if you're not fast enough, that 30% is not going to be enough to push you where you need to push. She also needs a decent amount of HP too, because otherwise you still die. It still takes 2 hits to die. And on top of that, with the silence right here, you're then going to need a ton of effectiveness to land this as well. And what's going to happen against so many teams is she's going to attack all enemies, and then the Ruel's going to resist, the Amomo's going to resist, the Angelica's going to resist, the Destina's going to resist. Everybody's just going to resist the important ones you want to target, and then the unimportant ones will just get dispelled. So I think that's something that's going to happen a lot with her, and I'm not sure how to solve that problem, because she's not going to do enough damage to just cleave you down after this, right? Like, she's going to try to stabilize after that with the silence. So interesting. And she's also only stealthing for 1 turn after this, so I'm kind of interested to see what kind of effect this has on her, just with how greedy of a skill set she has. And the other thing too that's really deceptive about units like this is you think you've got that invincibility, right? Like, you think you've got immortality on your Melissa, you think you've got your invincibility on your Cerise, you think you've got your what else do you have here, your similar effect to this on your Chaos Inquisitor, but so many people just plow through that without even thinking twice that it makes it deceptively fragile to the point where you try to play around your unit's bonuses and it ends up costing you the game. For example, with my Chaos Inquisitor, he has the same sort of effect, but I think it's like 35% he takes instead. I don't know the exact percent, but what would happen with him is he would get hit by SSB and then get hit by Drink and die after, or he would get hit by Charles and then Charles would go again and hit him again and break that 30% twice. So the same sort of thing might happen with her, so just be very careful if you're using her not to make her too squishy. Okay, and next up here is Crescent Moon Rin, and I think this is the most exciting one of everything here, and that is making it so for Eye Catcher now, which before steals 2 buffs and that was it. Now it also steals 2 buffs and stuns, and if the enemy isn't buffed, it reduces the cooldown of the skill by 1 turn. This is a fantastic change. I wish it was the other way around, because right now it steals 2 buffs first. No, it stuns first and then steals 2 buffs, which makes it so if they have immunity, the stun's not going to do anything. But that's kind of what they were going for. So you now have a couple choices with this skill. You can hit somebody to stun them, or you could try to steal somebody else's buffs. And I like that. That's a pretty cool idea. Maybe they thought it would be too overpowered to steal buffs and then stun. I don't think it would be, but it'll be something I'm definitely trying out, and I definitely will be building Crescent Moon Rin. I do really like this change. I like that she has something to do now where she where she previously just sort of like slapped somebody on her turn sometimes and just didn't do anything, and it felt terrible. So this will allow you to stun somebody now on her turn, and she will have high effectiveness, so she'll likely hit that stun and not be too punished by it, right? So like, even if you stunned, it would be not so great to use because you would still have your main buff steal on cooldown, but now that's reduced as well. So I really, really, really like this, and I love this change, and I'm really excited to try it out. Next up is SSA. They're just giving her Dispel on both the caster and the target. As I choke on myself while I'm talking, I wish I could say more about this SSA. I think this is going to be fantastic for the people who use her on offense. There's a lot of people who do already on Guild War offense, and obviously any sort of debuff dispelling is fantastic. So next up we have AI improvements, and this is interesting to me because this is like a double-edged sword to me. This is one of those things that feels really good. Like, this feels like something you should do, but at the same time, where do we draw the line with how smart the AI is, right? Because one of the fun parts about Guild Wars is planning out your teams and the plans and making it so you have a counter to certain things. But now with how they're changing AIs, they're making things like Cerise a lot less good. They're making things like Melissa a lot less good. Maybe not Melissa because this is invincibility and not immortality, but like in general, this is kind of like a direct buff to Melissa, because one of the things I like to do was bring Cerise against units that one-shot people like Crow here. So getting your invincibility up and baiting the Crow to hit your Cerise was a viable strategy, and now it's just not. So while this is fantastic for AI, is this a good idea? I'm not sure. This is something I really need to see how I like, right? Because I feel like it takes away a lot of the uniqueness of some people that can make you invincible, but maybe that was too overpowered. I'm really not sure. And the same goes with these ones here. I do like this one here. It targets highest combat readiness for both Wanderer Silk and Assassin Sid. Pavel here, Storm Bullet is used 100% of the time now. Destina here and Acades, if anybody has a debuff, it's gone. She's just going ham. And this one I thought was hilarious. So, says before, when the target's health is 30%, they're 30% or less, there's an 80% chance he goes ham on them. Like, who thought of this? Who was like, I know, we're gonna give Says this execute, and then like 20% of the time, he's just not gonna do it. I think that's hilarious. I don't know why they did that, but to me, that's just the funniest thing, and I'm glad they're fixing that and also making it 50% or less, because Sez's execute here is gonna kill most things 50% or less. They're making it so Celeste also only heals when she's under 80%. Batiste is getting a slight change to certain AI and Brawl, or certain Victory and Brawl. Spider Might is getting the same change as Says, where it's 100% chance instead of 80% chance. It's so weird to me. I didn't even know that was the thing. And then, of course, they're changing the exclusive equipments and just tacking on exclusive equipment pieces like the Lilibet's hit rate onto their abilities, which is something I think is a pretty good change. I do like that. I would like them to revisit these exclusive equipments. I really think they should have done maybe like more skill targeted things, like have augments to each skill and be able to select it from like a drop down style thing instead of a piece of equipment that's limited to 3 things. I think that's something that might have been better, but it's kind of too late for that now. So yeah, that is the patch, and this is decent. Ambitious Tywin change is ambitious. It's kind of cool. Charlotte is a big whiff to me. Destina is like a change, but I still think it's a big whiff. Lilibet is the same thing. It's a change, but I still think it's a whiff. Tempus Sirin is a pretty big buff IMO, but I'm not sure how much it is. Crescent Moon Rin is my favorite one here, and I'm really excited to try it out. And SSA is going to be great for people who always use them. So, what I think is majorly wrong with these balance patches is there's no star of the show, right? There's nothing that's like, this is going to change because this happened. There's nothing that's going to be like people going to the forums now being like, I can't wait to use X, you know? Like when people look at this, they're going to be like, yay, Tywin might be usable now. Yay, Charlotte's not usable. Yay, Destina is slightly better where I was always using her, right? Like there's no star of the show. Literally nothing here is going to change anything, right? Like nothing is being added. Nothing is really going to change. We're not going to see a change in arena. We might see a slight change in RTA with stuff like Crescent Moon Rin. But nothing is actively going to change from here. And I think if they're going to do these every 2 months or however long they're doing them, they really need to have that one unit that just changes things. Like a good couple examples of this are something like a Ken change, where Ken had a massive change and kind of shook up the meta a little bit. Stuff like Arbiter Vildred, as bad as it is right now, it did still change a lot of things. I think they need to go into these patches with one of those things per, and then they can do these minor changes here and there, because like the minor changes don't really do much. Like, yes, we got a change to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units and some AI changes, but is anything honestly going to change? And I don't think it is. And that's another one of the problems we have with no nerfs, right? Like if we have a nerf just on SSB or Arbiter Vildred, a lot changes just from that, but little changes like these to buffs doesn't have that impact. So I really think going forward they should have some sort of star of the show that is either like reworked or has like a massive enough change to really impact things. I really hope that's how they handle things going forward. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I tried to keep it as positive as possible. And I think I did. I think it kept it pretty positive. I was a little bit critical on some of these, but I'm pretty excited to try out Crescent Moon Rin. And I would love to try out Tempus Sirin as well if I had her. I would absolutely use her if I had her. I don't think she would be any good, but I would use the heck out of her because she's flipping adorable. So anyways, let me know what you're excited about. Am I super wrong about any of this? That's something I like to talk about too. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.